Hello and welcome everybody, my name is N0tnathan and welcome to another tech video here on the N0tnathan channel. And today, as you can see, we are talking about laptops here. And now these aren't just ordinary laptops, well, they are my laptops. These are different laptops I've owned over the course of the years, the only exception being this laptop right here, which I received from the company that I am currently working for, so it is, well, it's mine until the day I either get replaced by the company or I end up leaving the company. That's the only way that this laptop gets out of my possession. But until then, this is technically my responsibility to take care of. Now, if we can look at the different laptops now, for the order of why they're here, this is the order in which I received them. This is the order in which I got the laptop. So this being the oldest, this being the most recent. And if you follow the channel, you are aware of my video, which will be down in the description below, regarding the Surface Pro 3 unboxing video. And I know that I've been needing to, get a Surface Pro 3 video talking about like what are my thoughts after like a month of using it and stuff like that. And now it's been a few months because we bought it in February of 2015. As of watching this video. So we'll talk about some of those things, but the reason we wanted to put this video together was to mainly look at physical overview of how laptops have changed over the years. Talk about what my thoughts are about these different laptops, go through comparison of running a benchmark on all these laptops just to see how's that progressively have changed. But as you can look at all these laptops, there should be a reoccurring theme going on with these, and I'll give you a few seconds here to figure out what that is. I do my little dance while we wait. But the reoccurring theme with all these laptops are really geared towards a business perspective. Like, you notice that there isn't any sort of gaming laptop sitting in front of you. There's like nothing like that. So none of these have like fancy chassis and any sort of fancy color schemes and whatnot. So it's the fanciest thing that you get out of these is, like a few of these have a white backlit keyboard. That's about as fancy as a lot of these get. But otherwise, it's basically just business laptops. So these aren't geared for gaming. These are all geared for business, and each of these kind of have a different purpose. So I wanted to kind of, go down the line from oldest to newest, although these are in chronological order of which I bought them or received them, but these aren't necessarily in order of which, like as far as age of these laptops go. Like if we were going by that, basically we would move this, we swap places with this one here, and then have the ThinkPad and this HP laptop switch places. Then you've got your oldest to newest laptops, because the Surface Pro 3 was purchased in 2015. I have the MacBook Air here that was purchased in 2014. Then we have the ThinkPad W530 that I believe was purchased in 2012. Like I think it was the holiday season of 2012 going into 2013. And because this is of the same processor family, of the same generation, I don't know exactly the year of which my company bought these. But they're around that same time frame. And then this laptop here, this old Vostro 1400, this was purchased around like 06, 07-ish, and this was my laptop of choice when I was in high school. Like this was my laptop, that's what I dealt with. It was also my gaming machine. Those gaming requirements weren't as massive back then, but now trying to play the latest games on there, whew, good luck with that. And so I'm going to just do a quick overview, just talking about each of these laptops from the system specs of what I remember, although we will be able to clarify some of these specs when we show the benchmarks, because it actually shows a lot of that information there. So we're going to start from the oldest here, of which I bought my first laptop. This is the Vostro 1400. This laptop is rocking a Core 2 Duo 1.4 gigahertz processor, and I believe this thing has 4 gigs of RAM, because during that time that's about as much as laptops could gain at that point. like there weren't any, you know, modern laptops that gave you 8 gigabyte capacities or even 16 gigabyte capacities and stuff like that. It was designed for Windows XP, although right now I have a copy of Windows 7. I think this thing came with like a 300 gig hard drive to start off with, but now it's upgraded with a lower end SSD, because this thing doesn't have really any software other than like bare necessities on that. So it's kind of just a browser essentially. And so other than that, it does have a GeForce graphics card in there, but it's got, I think it's like 256 megs of graphics on there, which is like nothing nowadays by comparison. Moving on to the next laptop here, we got the Lenovo ThinkPad W530. So this is using a third generation i7 processor. I believe this has got a 2.3 or 2.4 gigahertz i7. It's running Windows 8.1. It's got 32 gigs of DDR3 RAM. Also running a NVIDIA Quadro K1000 GPU, which has 2 gigabytes of VRAM, but it's obviously not really suited for gaming. It's more designed for 3D rendering and stuff like that. And this has a 15-inch display. And it got, I think this particular model is a 1600 by 900 resolution, although at the time you could pay like an extra $100, $200 to get a 1920 by 1080, which would have been 1080p resolution. And so this laptop was geared towards the mobile workstation class of laptops. So this thing is a workhorse. This is meant to be a desktop replacement laptop for people that need to do high-end renderings, or in my case was to run lots of VMs on this. I actually ran my final project for my college. Like my very own capstone final project was done on this laptop, where I needed to run a ton of VMs on here to get it done. And having that 32 gigs of RAM and also having the i7 processor really helped in that case. What we did also in here is this thing currently has a 128 gig SSD for its boot. It's soon going to be replaced. I'm working on that right now, is to replace it with the 256 gig SSD, because it is getting low on disk space. But we also took out the optical drive, put in a 750 gig Seagate hybrid drive in there for lots of storage. Because nowadays I really don't use a DVD drive or any sort of optical drive. If I really need to for like an OS installation, if even that, I would use a USB DVD drive, which I use now for most of my builds. So now a lot of my desktops I construct now don't even have drives in them, because I don't really need them. And so we can kind of go through some of the physical overlay here. We'll start with having the lid open. We've kind of already talked about the screen, but one of the big things I've loved so much about ThinkPads in general over the years has always been the keyboard. Now, Lenovo goes to great lengths to try and give you the best experience possible for typing, and this one's no exception to that. Like, this one is by far my favorite of really all these laptops in a row. This is my favorite one of choice to type with. I've typed whole papers on this thing, like just sitting on one of the reclining chairs, one of the lazy boys. And I've typed out whole documents. I've had no problem using it. Although sometimes I would want to get like a USB mouse or like a wireless mouse of some kind when I'm working, but I absolutely love the keyboard on this. This is fantastic. The trackpad's also really good too, because it's got good finger detection. It supports multi-touch, and so what I mean by the finger detection is, or I guess I should say hand detection, or your palm detection, I think is the proper term for that, is that when your palm goes across the laptop, it goes across the trackpad. It doesn't detect that. It only detects movement if your fingertips go across. You know, and one of the other things I actually like is the little track dot, little track point, the little red dot that's like a staple to Lenovo's line of laptops and IBM. Some people don't like this. I actually really like this, and so I usually use the track point and use the top set of mouse clicks. Although if you are more of a trackpad user, you've got your trackpad and your left and right mouse click down below. The other thing that's awesome is fingerprint readers. It has a really nice fingerprint reader on there, and so I have a couple of my fingers scanned in there. Actually, I think I have all 10 of my prints on there. When I set this up, I will have to set it up again because I'm going to have to redo the OS when I install the new SSD. But that's really nice because then that means that my initial login password can be actually really complex. I can have a little more security that way, and all I have to do is swipe my finger. Honestly, I wish more laptops would incorporate this because it's like I hate having to remember passwords, and that's why I use LastPass for my password vaults. And honestly, if all my devices had fingerprints, because now a lot of devices like the iPhone 6 Plus and the Galaxy S6, they have a fingerprint scanner on there, and it actually integrates with LastPass. And so if we can get LastPass or some of these laptop developers to actually support that on laptops to authenticate with LastPass, that would be fantastic. Now we're moving into something different. Yes, the MacBook Air, it's a 2013 edition, although I bought in 2014 because the 2014 models hadn't been out because I bought in like February. So this is the 11-inch 2013 MacBook Air. This one's rocking an i7 processor. It's a 1.7 gigahertz dual core. This is a Haswell chip, I believe. And it's got 8 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and it's also got a 128 gig SSD rocking in there. You know, this is the first Ultrabook kind of solution I received, because the thing is, this laptop is just super lightweight, super thin, and this is also my first Apple computer I've ever bought. And you know, people on the internet will think, well, maybe I'm an Apple fanboy because I caved in and bought this, but the thing is, it's actually been a really nice experience with it, and I don't really consider myself an Apple fanboy. I don't really consider myself a Windows fanboy either. But the thing is, I use Windows because I can play the majority of my games on the Windows platform right now. And until I can go on Linux or Mac and actually play all the games that are in my Steam library and use all my software programs that I use without any compatibility issues, I'm still going to be on Windows. But yeah, this thing is using an Intel 5000 graphics chip, so naturally it would be able to support 4K, but because it's using an earlier version of Thunderbolt, the limitation is physically there, where you cannot output the 4K because it's not using, I think it's Thunderbolt 2.0 that needs it. And so that's a physical problem. It's not anything you can correct in software. You have to actually upgrade to a better version, like a higher version of Thunderbolt. Now the typing experience on this is actually really good. It's actually really good. I was actually expecting the keyboard to be too tiny for me because I was really debating between an 11-inch or a 13-inch. And actually for my needs with this, it's actually really good. The keyboard is just as big as any of these other keyboards really, with the exception of the HP because it's got the number pad off to the side. But I have no problem typing on this. It's a joy to type. It's got the little chiclet style keys. It does support backlight, which I also forgot to mention. The ThinkPad also has a backlit keyboard, and the MacBook Air has a backlit keyboard, and so does the Surface Pro 3. So now we're going to move on to this guy here. This is the HP ProBook 65 N0tnathan. This is HP specific business class laptop. This is another 15-inch laptop, much like the ThinkPad. The only difference is this thing has got an i7 dual, or not i7, i5 dual core processor, as opposed to the i7 processor quad core that's in the ThinkPad. Some of the main differences between this and the ThinkPad is that it actually has a number pad off to the side there, where the ThinkPad doesn't. This one does not have a backlit keyboard. Has a slightly bigger trackpad. Is I think about the same screen resolution on there. Smaller battery. So it's, it's just not as good, but then again, it wasn't purchased for the point of being better than the ThinkPad. This was a company-given laptop, so I gratefully accept what they can give me. And so we'll dive. Actually, before we dive into the physical overview, we'll talk about some of the specs here, which I already said is running an i5 processor. It is a 3rd generation i5, so it's not. I don't believe that's Haswell. I think that's Ivy Bridge, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's got 12 gigs of RAM, although I think it's upgradable to 16 gigs. I haven't honestly invested too much research into this laptop because I can't really do anything to it anyways. It's got a 500 gigabyte mechanical drive in there. Graphics wise, I think it's just using an Intel 4000 chipset, which is fine, for basic stuff. And so we'll get into the physical overview here. So this laptop does have a fingerprint reader, although I don't have it configured because the software drivers for it are not installed on here. One thing I'll note is that I'm not a big fan of the keyboard in here. It is kind of a chiclet style keyboard, but the thing is, the feel in the hand is just not as good as the ThinkPads. I think I've just been spoiled by the ThinkPad's keyboard for too long, and I've also used a bunch of mechanical keyboards to the point where I just really don't like the feel. And this, and your mileage may vary on this. You might actually like this keyboard style, but to me, it doesn't really work. It doesn't feel very well. A lot of times it doesn't register a key, although that could also be because the laptop is fairly used. The main positive about the keyboard is that it has a number pad off to the side, so it makes typing on IP addresses faster when you're trying to open up PuTTY or remote desktop and what have you. Last but not least, we have the Surface Pro 3, which I'm going to suggest that you use the link into the description, which will take you to the Surface Pro 3 video that will go into more in-depth analysis of the Surface Pro 3. It talks all about the specs, goes through the whole unboxing experience and some of this basic overviews over that. So I'm gonna save some of that here. So just go to that video in the description. But I will at this point kind of talk about a little bit of what are my thoughts of owning the Surface Pro for a while as compared to say the MacBook Air or some of these other ones. I've been using this laptop as my daily driver for portable computing, that is, for probably since I bought the Surface back in February. It's been my daily driver since then, and I've actually really liked it. I like the ability to be able to pull it out and use as tablet mode if I need to, or put on the type cover if I need to type. And so it has laptop mode. I love the the little hinge that allows you to basically bring it down to flat, or if you just completely collapse the hinge, boom, now you've got it in flat mode. And so it's been an absolute joy, although I didn't actually mean to turn it on, but it's turning on. For you, it's going to turn on. It was bound to turn on anyways when we actually dove into these to show you some benchmarks, and that's going to be actually the last piece that we're going to show you, is actually booting these machines and showing the Geekbench benchmarks to kind of show the processor statistics of these devices, of how they've been, over the years. I gotta see how impressive these are, so we can kind of show you which one's really the best out of all these laptops, which I'm sure there's probably a good thought of which one it's actually going to be. Or it might not actually be the one you're thinking of. But honestly, comparing the Surface Pro 3 and the MacBook Air, honestly, at this point in time, I still have to give it to the Surface Pro 3 because you have the option for a higher screen resolution, although it's using the same graphics chipset. But the thing is, this one actually supports 4K resolution. The MacBook does not. At least 2013 doesn't. The other thing I absolutely love is a touchscreen. Touch might not seem as important, as a standard thing, but the thing is that after using touch for several months, now when I'm going to some of my other Windows 8 laptops, I'm reaching out trying to touch the screen and realizing, oh wait, I'm not on my Surface, this doesn't work on this. And so it's actually been an absolute joy, and so I actually give a general winner to the Surface Pro 3, but that's just because for some of those feature sets. But if Apple gets into actually having a touch interface or anything like that, I might actually give it back to the Mac. But either way, these laptops are both really good products, and I sincerely think that they deserve your money. And so now what we're going to do is move into the benchmarks, and so I'm going to actually boot these laptops up. I'm going to show you those benchmarking scores, and then we'll wrap this up, so stay tuned. Alright, so now we got these all booted up here, and so now we've got boot them up, and they're all running the Geekbench benchmark. The reason we ran this tool over the other ones is because Geekbench measures CPU and memory performance for all these different devices and stuff like that, because GPU isn't really the main focus, because the thing is, all these laptops are designed for business. And so I'm actually going to grab the camera here for just a moment, and so we can actually get a better look and feel on those benchmarks. So we see that the Vostro is running 745 on the single core and 361 on the multi-core, which is actually really low, because then when you move into the ThinkPad, you notice that's got like a 3051 and then 11885. The MacBook Air, you start seeing those numbers drop, even though it's newer, but the thing is, it's a dual core, so 3242, 6361. The ProBook, you got 2476 and 4982, and so you can tell that it's significantly lower, even though it's the same year as the ThinkPad, but it's significantly slower. And then finally, you've got your Surface Pro 3, which decided to go to sleep on me right as I'm about to show the benchmark. It's 3241, 5839, which is like, well, you said the MacBook Air was better or was worse than the Surface. Well, in a lot of ways, yes, for my needs and purposes, but the thing is, like, that overall benchmark is not going to vary enough to where it's going to be a significantly noticeable difference in the experience. There's just a lot of other physical things and software related things that actually makes the Surface a much better experience overall. Whoops, and I accidentally unplugged the MacBook. Sorry. So now this is plugged back in, so that's not going to auto shut off. So yeah, there you have it though, how laptops have performed over the years, and so now you see how much thinner, lighter these laptops have gotten, progressively speaking. And so I think I'm still going to maintain the trend of just getting business grade laptops. I've never owned a gaming laptop, although maybe I will in the future, but so right now I think I'm going to stick to my guns and stick with the business laptops. And so I do apologize that this video may seem long, but it's hard to get all this information in and do it in like a 10-minute video. There's just a lot of content to talk about here. We're talking about 5 different laptops here and going into in-depth detail about each laptop. And so hopefully you like that. You can, give the video a thumbs up if you like to see more videos kind of like this. Give me a thumbs down, and if you do give me a thumbs down, please let me know why in the comment section below as to why you didn't like the video, whether it's too long or you thought the content was bland or you're literally just doing it for trolling reasons. Just let me know. I'm just curious. Well, that's going to do it here for this video. Tune in next time when we're going to either box something else or maybe we're just going to do more gaming stuff. So as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!